What's up, everybody? Liam Murphy here with Pat Kerrane, the one and only of Ship Chasing and NBC Sports Edge. How you doing today, Pat?
Good. How you doing? Back from Vegas.
Good. Yeah, I wanted to have you on to catch up on the news I missed out on. We were talking a little bit behind the scenes, and Pat said that he sprang for a new computer and that he demanded the government come fix his internet, and they have come to his house to appease him. And so hopefully those internet issues are behind him. So yeah, Pat, I've been out of the best ball streets for 2 or 3 weeks. I had your company man on yesterday, Kyle Dvorak, and he didn't seem to think there was too much news. You know, he mentioned the Baker Mayfield. I knew that one at least. Any burning news you feel has happened in the past couple of weeks, or are we at the standstill until the actual news is about to start coming?
It feels pretty standstilly. We're getting, the wars over whether or not Dulcich is the number one tight end in Denver, which dropped yesterday. There is I forget who it was, some beat writer or something, but he was talking about how much faster Dulcich is. So Twitter revolted,
which is wrong.
And which is technically just wrong.
Maybe we shouldn't enact like if beat writer over 70, we don't invest in those opinions.
ADP. Yeah.
Like if he's arguably mixing up players on the field, doesn't, like.
Well, Dulcich is wearing the little shorts, so he probably does look faster.
Yeah, like Albert O is supposed to have like a sub 4.5 40, and Dulcich is like
literally
in the 4.7.
He ran a 4.69. I saw 4.7 cited. He was technically.
Okay, my mistake. 4.69. Make sure that's on record there.
Let's give him his due.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so trying to think if there's anything else. We did have a report about Rojo that he has a legit shot to be the starter, and then the caveated if he has an exceptional training camp. So that one probably also not really news.
So that's just made up.
Yep. There was a penny blurb that moved.
Oh, I saw that
ADP.
one.
Yeah, Levitan really had a nice time just completely debunking that one. So yeah, it's been kind of silly season a little bit for some of the news. I don't think there's really been any like real, even the J.K. Dobbins thing. He was disputing his rehab timeline yesterday.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough for the news fabricators when the player themselves calls bullshit on your story. Hopefully, I'll never be that big. I can just make up things. Regarding the penny news, I was someone who had a lot of penny, and now, like for my portfolio, Ken Walker is now dropping to a range where I'm drafting him now. Like I was just accepting that I'd have zero Ken Walker. He was too expensive. But now those players have kind of flipped. So I think that we as drafters should think through that as our portfolio. How have you been approaching your drafts? Have you been drafting in this slow time? Or have you been – I think there's a bit of a misconception that this time of the year is like extremely sharp. I think people firing up drafts when there's like no news at this time, you're getting a smorgasbord. You're going to get some sharp drafters. You're going to get some people that just heard about this app from their friend and are doing their first one. So I don't think it's as sharp as people necessarily think in the dead news cycle of July. How have you been approaching that?
I've still been drafting. I actually fired off a lot of drafts over the last few days. I'm now at 66 Best Ball Mania drafts, and I'm kind of making a decision
one of us.
So I was like, I had 45 or something, and I was like, should I just do kind of a third of my drafts early and then 2/3 late? But I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do that. So I was like, I'm going to try to, maybe it's not quite true early, but it's still, training camp hasn't started yet. So it still feels like technically the early session. So I'm going to try to get that
when
up.
Even is the early, the one is to catch the late crowd. Is it the first week of August? Is it August 15th? Where are you comfortable saying the casual crowds out on the app?
Well, I think you want to get all the information. So I feel like after, is it going to be it's the second preseason game where we're going to get the starters?
Historically, it's the third one is meaningful, but I don't even know what the
because there's
preseason
one
is
less
anymore.
now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
is it the second now?
Yeah. So whatever that ends up being, basically, once we get like the most information we're going to get from the preseason, I feel like I'll jump back in. But
That
I
makes
feel like
sense.
sitting out the early training camp and the first preseason game probably makes sense.
Speaking for myself, since I'm making content, I'm not saving that many bullets, just trying to fire them when I have guests on. And excited before we jump in this draft here. Gonna have 2 guests on tomorrow. One, Davis. The other one is Matt Berkey, a poker professional who I ran into Vegas. And I think it'll be very interesting to discuss with him just kind of like the landscape, because I think there's a lot of overlap between the poker landscape and what the best ball landscape is now. For example, in like 2007, people playing poker were terrible, and now they're very good. And I think, like, if you give best ball 20 years, are we going to look back and be like, what the fuck were we doing?
Yeah.
Even talking about the first round 2 years ago, I mean, you have like player specific takes with like Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs, but I mean, we haven't had really like computer solvers touch best ball yet, or anything that a lot of these other gamble games such as poker have seen.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, that's a really interesting topic because I don't know even what we're going to end up finding that we're doing now is bad, but there's definitely some stuff that we're doing that's bad that we don't know.
yeah, in some ways it's like a more complicated game. In other ways, it's less complicated. I see one of you on Twitter asked if I charged Pat the $12.50. I'm graciously free rolling my guess. We learned from our industry mistake, and Pat, we pulled the 111. I got
Dude, that's my fault, man. Every draft I've been in is like 107 or later. I did get chased at the 107 today, so that felt pretty good.
We don't usually come in with a predisposed strategy, but let's try to like rip 6 wide receivers off the bat or something fun, or
let's do it,
or something else. You gotta learn you're getting dragged for the 50 cents. Usually, Ryan, I would send $13, so I was rounding up. I'm still getting a little laggy from your internet, Pat. I feel like you're coming in clear, just like a little like. So
yeah,
talk to big government. Make sure that they come on by.
New computer comes Thursday, so next week I'll be streaming crystal clear. Hopefully, if not,
are you a desktop guy or you got a laptop or what?
So I'm using a laptop right now. It's a Mac, but I talked to Pete, who was dealing with internet issues and eventually got a new computer, and that kind of solved things for him. So I'm going the same route, getting a PC.
Thank you, Corbin. Yeah, PC is always best. I personally have a gaming laptop.
That's what Pete recommended. Yeah,
I don't play video games on the computer unless you count chess, but I just knew for streaming purposes it would be best, and I knew that I was going to be doing some traveling, and so I didn't end up doing any streams in Vegas, but the option was there, so I at least planned for it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how your digital backgrounds improve with a 21st century machine, Pat. No longer rolling out the golden eye background or whatever some of those digital backgrounds are.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it lives up to expectations.
All right, we got a high T start here from Guy Nation ripping off Derrick Henry. That should be a sin. You should never ever take Derrick Henry above Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing the 106 is getting chased a lot.
Yeah, you'll see that quite a bit. I really like the 101 through the 106 because even Austin Eckler I include in that tier, and then after that, like the 107 plus is like, I just think like, I don't know, it's hard because yes, DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris could easily have a legendary season, but I just feel like in general we should probably be erring towards like zero running back or getting Travis Kelce when this happens. Do you want to take Kelce?
Yeah, I would take Kelce. We're probably
Right.
The tough part about Kelce is Pitts sometimes gets back in the third, but maybe not in this room.
Yeah, I just like for Underdog. How many over under 6.5 touchdowns? Kyle Pitts.
I mean, he had one last year, so it's a tough over.
I mean, and if you're not scoring over, like, I just don't think, even with Kelce's age, like, he probably doubles up Pitts and touchdowns, which with the tight end position, you just need those touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like getting Kelce. It's a nice price.
I don't know. Like last year I had a ton of Pitts, and then we have to think that the quarterback situation is worse in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, it's worse than it was last year.
Whoa, we got Aaron Rodgers at the 112. Give me Devontae Adams for the. Oh no, he's gone. Can't even do the fake correlation. Who we got?
I've also seen some really weird stuff recently. So
yeah, you see that in the dull days. Like you're gonna get someone who thinks it's super flex, who hasn't signed on for a while. Like shit happens. Some players throw people in their queue and then they forget the draft started. Okay. I would rather go Mike Evans over CD, or I'd go Swift. You like CD though?
I like CD. Yeah.
All right, let's do CD then. With CD, I like getting Dak late. Why do you like CD more than Mike Evans? Age?
I think I mean age is part of it. I think we're looking at like the same kind of similar bull case to with Lamb, where he's
great comment, Mookie. This looks like a DraftKings.
It does kind of look like a DraftKings board.
Except DraftKings
you get like
draft boards.
You get the target share upside with Lamb to start the season, same as Evans with Gallup out. But I think you also get him emerging then as like a superstar, which we've kind of been profiling him to be since he entered the league. In a similarly powerful offense. So I think with Lamb, it's like a little bit more of an unknown in terms of what he's done. He hasn't really had the success in the NFL to really warrant this level of ADP yet, but he certainly could pay it off pretty easily given the lack of target competition.
Who would you bet on scoring more touchdowns, Mike Evans or CeeDee Lamb?
So I would say Evans probably scores more touchdowns, but Evans also, I actually don't really get Evans' current price because I think Chris Godwin, once healthy, is clearly the wide receiver one there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a second question. Who do you think scores more touchdowns weeks 15 through 17?
Lamb.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's tough. With Mike Evans, like, years past, as a Bills fan, I've just been okay being biased against Brady, but I'm okay just drafting the Vampires players until he officially retires. And I see no reason why Mike Evans won't score 10 plus touchdowns. And like you're kind of free rolling in a sense where like, okay, worst case, you get the 1B come the playoff weeks with Mike Evans. Best, who also is kind of like this goal line wide receiver for them. This like really weird niche player, like
especially with Gronk out.
Yes. And then on the other hand, you're like, what if Godwin needs a little bit more time? Like you can I knew Mike Evans would settle in this 1-2 turn once the Gronk news hit. When the season started, I was like, he's old. Like he got just 1,000 yards. He got all these like 1-yard touchdowns. That's not going to happen again. But like, of course it's going to happen again. They're not going to have like 40 rushing touchdowns, and they like rejuvenated their O-line. So and I think CD's being priced for what we want him to be, not what he is necessarily.
Yeah, that's true to an extent. Yeah, he's overpriced for what he's done.
But at the same time, like someone's got to catch the fucking balls there, and Jalen Tolbert could be bad. Dalton Schultz is just a guy athletically, like he has a lot of trust within the Cowboys, and I think he will have a good season.
Efficiency wise as well. He hasn't flashed elite efficiency.
Yeah, like so, but so it's hard there. Like, and I think also something we should be thinking about, which I don't think a lot of players think like this, is like who has more 30 point games in their repertoire, right? Like I think a lot of like take AJ Brown. I think a lot of people shit on AJ Brown for season wide reasons, which maybe I agree with, maybe I don't. But if you're asking me who is a player very likely to score 2 touchdowns, break a tackle, like give you that week that wins you the championship, I would take AJ Brown over most of the field. And like AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, players that win with like power, aka you throw them a 10-yard slant, they break a tackle because they're big and strong, and they house the thing, right? Like you don't get that from like Stephon Diggs, very good at football. He'll catch a downfield pass. He'll break because he's shifty, but he's not going to like shrug off 3 corners. So I think we should be thinking about like these, and like, yeah, some people have been like, well, AJ Brown against the Saints week 17. I'm like, okay, like AJ Brown at home against a dome team is what I hear, like, and when you win with power, which like very uniquely some wide receivers can, like Deebo, like AJ Brown, like these aren't common, like who cares who the corner is? No corner wants to tackle a running back type wide receiver on the edge.
For sure. On Evans, like, I do wonder if there's, some positive news coming on Godwin, that maybe he'll be back earlier in the season, because it seems like he's being priced. Like Godwin's fallen quite a bit. And that's coincided with Evans's rise. So I think, to your point, some of it's Gronk, but some of it's also some Godwin pessimism. So I don't think I'll get Evans at cheaper than he was going earlier, but early second round Evans, I'm basically betting that I'll get a cheaper Evans than that.
And what's interesting is Godwin has pretty much hit the bottom of where he will go, because I thought I would come back and he would fall. I'd like to go Marquise Brown here. Are you cool with that?
Kamara's a guy I've been taking because it seems like maybe he's not getting suspended after all. But
I've been taking a falling one him too, but I was gonna be happy with any of these players. With
that works for me.
Who?
No, Brown works for me. Marquise Brown. Yeah,
it sticks to our plan going in, where we said we were going to go 0 running back with a detour to Kelsey. But I am someone who buys the dip on almost all players, especially like when you're fortunate where like I have no Kamara from the second round. I wasn't doing it. And, just like, so a parallel I can use from last year is DeAndre Swift. I wasn't taking him when he was 1-2 turn, but then he did the same thing Kamara's doing this year, becoming a 3-4 turn player. Kyle and I did a draft yesterday, and we got Kamara at 41.
Wow.
So people are just down on him. Yeah, and I thought Cash was a lock to take Josh Allen. That's why I felt comfortable. ETN I like a lot as well. I feel like he's drawing live to just like also rug the community and be like really disappointing. Like
he's drawing very live for that at this price. I was hammering him when he was like 5th, 6th round, but
yeah, he should probably not go ahead of Breece Hall. All right, not. So who
Kamara here's nice.
You like Kamara?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, me too.
If he's not suspended, I think his previous like late round second value is appropriate. So
even if he is suspended, I don't like. I see max 6 games.
Yeah.
More likely 4. Which you can survive.
Yeah, and it was Drew Davenport had a thread that was like, they're put like basically everything that's happened to push it back. Like nothing has happened on the case since they like moved the court date back to August.
Yeah, the only thing that's happened is people have had more time to speculate, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's looking like, okay, maybe he does get suspended, but in 2023. So
Oh, and well, that's good and bad if you're drafting him, because if 2023 gets moved up to late 2022, he just got suspended for the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, you're done. It's actually you're taking on more risk in that scenario. But I think it sounds like
I would rather lock in a 4-game week 1 through 4 suspension than risk him missing any of the fantasy playoff weeks.
Well, that's what you're taking on some risk that he misses the fantasy playoffs if you draft him, because they're kind of actively working to push the timeline as late as they can.
I mean, but how many players have been suspended late in the season? Was Zeke 1 year or something? It's not that common, right?
It's not super common, yeah.
No. How about Breece Hall? Do you think his ADP is correct, or should he be going more expensive?
I think getting Breece Hall in the 5th feels like an opportunity that's not going to last. So yeah, I think he should probably be more expensive.
Like he should probably kind of be like
a little, right?
He should kind of be like JT his rookie year, which I think was like a 3rd round pick ish.
I wouldn't be taking him there. I don't think his outlook is as strong. Like, the Jets do seem somewhat committed to a committee approach, and he's also currently holding out because he wants at least, I think, 3 years of his rookie contract guaranteed. So that's
foolish when these teams make their stars hold out, especially if it goes into camp.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think probably kind of around where ETN just went is like where I would still be drafting him some, but not like hammering him. And I'm not actually hammering him right now in the 5th because I take a lot of Kittle. There's some other values there that I like, but I do think he's a good pick in the early.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I think there's enough questions about DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Keenan Allen, that like this is kind of the range I could see Breece, like James Conner's old. This is kind of the range I could see Breece Hall, like definitely after T. Higgins. Yep. But after that, I think like all of these players in the 3rd until maybe like Gabriel Davis are drawing live to like go in this range, I feel. Something else that's good about taking like CeeDee Lamb is we know that his draft position has been a late, like he's been here the whole offseason. Whereas taking like Mike Evans, used to be able to get Mike Evans in the late 3rd. So you don't have to worry about the contexture of your team when you're taking like a riser. Like take Gabriel Davis. When Gabriel Davis and Mike Williams were going in the 5th, 6th, you have to worry about teams that were building teams with both those players as super teams. Like when you take a faller like Alvin Kamara, even though we have a riser in Marquise Brown, I don't know. It's something to think about. It's a bit nuanced with like the risers and fallers on your team.
Yeah, so I should say in the comments, everyone's pointing out that Breece signed his contract like 30 minutes ago. So all right, so green light, move him up into the 3rd. Let's ruin his ADP.
I don't have as much as him, just because even though like I think he's gonna have a great season, I think I'm at like 8% or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna check. I think that's probably where I'm at, something like that.
But like the reason is because you have to start 3 wide receivers, which even if you get a wide receiver who scores 50 points less over the course of a season, that's probably more valuable than a running back. When like it really depends who you can get later. Juju just went. Would have liked him. We're getting into this range where the wide receivers are drying up. Okay. Would you like to go Godwin, Amon-Ra?
I would do
Mooney or Lamar.
I would do Amon-Ra.
Or Murray correlates.
Yeah, but we have the guy behind us has 2 quarterbacks, so we're gonna have to.
I think he's gonna pass exactly. So who would you like at the wide receivers?
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are not trying to get Godwin to the playoffs much? Or
I am.
Or
But
do you
this isn't.
view Amon-Ra and Godwin so similar that you just take the 6 extra weeks or whatever it's going to be?
That's kind of where I'm at. And also, this team could really use the 6 extra weeks, I think. Right? We
Yeah,
detoured for
agreed.
Kamara, detailed for Kelsey.
I agree with that. And then like I think Murray really fits our team. But I have a ton of Murray teams built this way too. It kind of feels nice to lock in an elite quarterback with us having an elite tight end and having an elite running back and having 3 elite
And
wide
it's
receivers.
stacked.
And it's stacked. I love Marquise Brown. Do you want to go Murray here?
Yeah, let's go Murray.
Or do you want to go Godwin and try to piece it together?
I'd rather go Murray. And I mean, he lines all the things you just said. I mean, if you wanted to take Godwin, you shouldn't have said all those things. So I'm like, yeah.
No, hey man, I'm giving you the options. I'm letting you kind of decide it because I was happy with both there. I'm kind of surprised Godwin settled in here. He got here quickly, so I thought he would maybe get here. But I'm kind of happy that my exposure doesn't have to worry about all these 6th, 7th Godwin teams.
It's hard not to take Godwin in the 6th with. I mean, it's like DeAndre Hopkins is definitely missing 6 games. Chris Godwin might miss like 2. You know? I mean, he could miss 6, but he could miss. Even if he goes on PUP, that's only 4 games now.
Willis is saying I'd only take Godwin there if I started with 3 or 4 wide receivers. I think a lot of sharp people think similarly to that. Like they have the team that can elevate him there. So you want to get different sometimes. I like part of the reason I like Marquise Brown so much is not so much like him starting hot the first 6 weeks, which he should, but talking about the players that can give you those 2 touchdown weeks, he is drawing so live to be a smash week 17. Not necessarily because he's playing the Falcons, but because he's a great deep threat wide receiver. Yes, he had some drops last year, whatever. Drops don't bother me, but he's a great deep threat guy, and Murray's a great deep threat quarterback. So that connection should give you maybe even like 5 or 6, like 25-point games, I think, just from deep threat touchdowns. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I like Marquise as well. It's kind of that starting fast type of thing that you're getting with Evans, but at a much cheaper price. And then, he's got kind of the same issue as Evans, where Hopkins is probably the wide receiver 1. But like Evans, can deliver big plays. So it's to me, it's kind of like a discount Mike Evans pick. Arizona also gets Denver week 15, Tampa Bay week 16.
That's great, yeah. And then the Falcons.
And then the Falcons, yeah. So as far as a guy who's going to like help you make the playoffs, then help you make the finals, he's pretty great. And then he helps you get Kyler. And I like Kyler a lot. Someone is asking why Kyler over Lamar. If we didn't have a stack, I mean, I do prefer Lamar in a vacuum, but the stack is enough for me to,
And then, I mean, Hopkins might be the one. Like, he was slowing down last year. B, the Cardinals offense is so fucking weird with, like, some of the things they have their players do where, like, Hopkins routes were all to, like, one side of the field and, like, kind of short. And so, like, if Marquise is the deep threat in the offense and whatever, Hopkins is the possession guy, like, give me the deep threat with Kyler Murray. So I don't think he's going to, like, be too impacted when Hopkins returns. It might even help him if he's drawing coverage.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. And one of the things that's interesting about DeAndre Hopkins is he was declining in yards per route run over a number of years with the Texans. And then he went to the Cardinals and it kind of revived him. But to your point, he was kind of just like running these little squiggle routes off the side. It was like basically playing a possession receiver in 2 years ago. And then last year, he was kind of back to stretching the field a bit, but his yards per route run was as bad as it's been, I think, since his rookie year.
But his touchdowns were way up, which was kind of, I think, maybe fluky.
Yeah, I mean, well, they look for him in the red zone for sure, but yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like maybe Hopkins isn't like dust, but maybe he's not the kind of guy that can like stretch the field and earn a super high target volume, which is basically, you know, one path to being an ultra elite wide receiver is that, you know, you have this deep A dot and then you're earning a ton of targets as well. Like, you know, if you look at 2015, he had, which was a season where he had 1,590 yards and 11 touchdowns. He had 2.27 yards per route run with an A dot of 14.6, like true deep threat, drawing, it's generating a ton of production.
Best wide receiver in the league. He was the best for like a stretch.
Yeah, exactly.
And like a player with his type of frame, even if he's quote unquote dust, like all he has to do, he can always get a first down, like run up the field, turn around. Like he's gonna be able to box out corners. You don't actually go dust when you're DeAndre Hopkins. It's not like he's ever gonna be like AJ Green running out there, in my opinion. Would you like to go? I kind of want to get some more Pollard on my squads.
Yeah,
I like Miles Sanders with the O-line. Tony is getting expensive. Ayuk, I think, is a great grab. Anyone?
I like Pollard.
Pollard, let's go grab Pollard. Correlates with our Dallas stack. And obviously has the upside to smash. And we get a little 69 by correlation. You always want to see that on your teams.
You got to have that.
Gotta have that. If you're enjoying this content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll stop asking when I get to 1,000 subscribers. You'll never hear me ask again. Maybe. Let's see what Cash It Coop does. I mean, he's like, okay, yes, he grabbed Aaron Rodgers, which might have even been a fat fingered, but he's been staying in ADP mostly other than that. And he might even be drafting off of rankings. Like something you'll see on other sites is people import rankings and draft off them. And that's why they're like Kareem Hunt goes in the hundreds now, but some people just do that. They import their rankings and they have no idea what the ADP is when you do that on Underdog.
I can't do it. I really dislike it.
I hate it. Would you like to grab Dak here?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, let's grab Dak. I think we built a Kyler Dak team before together.
That doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah, I think Kyler Dak teams, just the way the ADPs fall, are going to be a little chalky. But having Kyler Dak with a falling Kamara, with the tight end one, like, yes, it all falls in an ADP band a little bit, but, you know, and we added the running back. So maybe we're getting a little unique with our contexture.
This feels a little unique to me, especially because, like, I'm inclined to build this like a hero running back team with Kamara as, you know, basically a 4th round hero running back, which is not typical.
Yeah. Sorry. So question here. How high could kind of random, but how high could Jamal Williams get if something happened to Swift? I don't think he would get as high as Darrell Henderson did last year because of his age, but maybe a 6, 7, like going around like after AJ, I don't know, like after Antonio Gibson feels correct to me.
Yeah, after Antonio Gibson feels right to me.
And then before Ramondre, after Tony Pollard, I would say, you know, like it really did. If we get
probably.
It depends what blurbs we get. If we get a blurb that's like it's the Jamal Williams show, who is an extremely likable guy in his press conferences. Highly recommend you check those out. But I don't know. He said, how old is he now? Like 27, 28? Let me see.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. 27 maybe.
He is 27 on April 3rd. 6 feet tall, kind of tall.
I think part of the issue for him too is that he did kind of burn people in DFS last year. It was like that 1 week where like all the running back values emerged, and he didn't really have the true like workhorse role that we thought he might. He wasn't like an Alexander Madison last year where he got everything. So
yeah, but he was actually like giving you. I had a ton of him last year, and this year I just kind of came in. I was like, he's not a sexy click. It's the Lions backup running back. But now the optimism has improved on the Lions, me included. people are like on Underdog. I think he goes after some like guys I don't want to click at all. Like he goes after Marlon Mack. Like give me Jamal Williams over him. I don't know.
We took Jamal Williams in the 15th round of the main event in our first main event draft.
How many main events are you guys doing?
I think like 12 or 13.
Wow. I'm doing 4 at the moment. And I don't know exactly what this means. You haven't learned to defer to your guest. Independent thinker, which I value respect. Thank you, Terrence.
What if part of his independent thinking is not deferring to his guests? What if that's part of the package?
It's a mind meld. Burke's really getting cheap. I got Burks on like all my main event teams in like pick 99. He could just flop. I don't know, man. It's just like
such a high upside profile. You're
gonna give me a guy who weighs too, like the film grinders hating him. I'm not a fan of. I've not watched much hype tapes on him, but what are you gonna do? You know, like you're gonna ask me to draft a 225-pound man that plays wide receiver with like no target competition, and the team traded away AJ Brown for. Like, either the Titans should fold as a franchise, or like you traded away. You were the 1 seed last year, and you traded away AJ Brown. Real quick, we're on the clock here. Should we grab Singletary?
Yep, I'm down with that.
All right, let's do that. Or do you like James Cook better?
I've been taking Singletary. And in this build with the Pollard swing, I think Singletary is probably better, right?
I'll give you my take after we get our second pick. It's just my question with Cook is how often / is it the plan for him to gain weight? Because if he gains a little weight, his profile to Alvin Kamara is not that far. So if you just dropped Alvin Kamara in the Bills offense, it's not the scariest offense we've seen in a while. And at the worst case with Cook, maybe you're getting Naheem Hines on the Bills offense, which is also scary in its own right. It's just, not as high volume as a role. And then Singletary, I like the guy a lot. He's a very good tackle breaker, but he's not this world beater talent. He's not fast at all. He'll never house a touchdown. Okay, so we're on the clock here before I finish that. Do you want to grab Claypool or Boyd? Or do you want to grab
Walker would be fine.
Walker, we could even double up with Cook. I think we need another wide receiver on this team, though.
All right, I'm good with Claypool, yeah.
Claypool, yeah. I don't have enough of him, so we'll add him to the squad. But yeah, so if the Bills do run this more 2 tight end sets, which even more people are talking about this now, I think Cook is the running back that makes sense a lot to be on the field when they don't just want to pound the ball, because you can flex him out into the slot late in the play and just let Josh Allen be the running back. And so if a player is going to break fantasy football on the Bills at the running back position, I think it'll be Cook and not Singletary. I think Singletary can have a very good season. They can both have good seasons, but I don't know. Like, Cook has some potential of being a James Conner, Leonard Fournette smash. Even though his profile, like, he's small. He's like 199 pounds. But I just don't know. Like it's not hard to gain weight in the NFL, but he came from like a big program. So that, like, it's not like he was having bad weight room training. I don't know. Like, and I'm not super familiar with his game. I just think that, like, adding an explosive running back on the Bills is smart, right? Like, if you're giving this guy little dump offs, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think Singletary is such a bad receiver that he's certainly opening up a huge opportunity for someone else. I do feel like, they gave him 100% of the snaps against the Chiefs. So I'm like, you don't hate this guy. You just basically.
Is that an indictment on Zach Moss, though?
It's an indictment of Moss, of Breida. Honestly, the fact that then they brought Breida over to the Giants is one of the things where it's like, yeah, I need to draft more Saquon. Like the guy who played 0 snaps in a playoff game is the backup. I think
Antonio Williams is there though, the guy who has the highest average points per game of any running back ever because he played. He was the Bills' backup running back against the Dolphins when they needed to make the playoffs 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and he scored like 3 touchdowns. He was always like a guy the Bills' message pages were like, what can he be if given a shot?
I tend to think Cook is more like Michael Carter than Alvin Kamara. But that could be wrong. We never know with these rookies. They can surprise us. And he actually did have pretty good breakaway rate last year, and he runs like a 4.43, 4.42 actually. So yeah, he could be pretty fun for sure. I guess like we took Kamara, then we took Pollard. So I was kind of thinking like we could really use Singletary just kind of grinding along, getting a touchdown.
Yeah, I always try to swing for upside. Like because I have some like upside picks on the roster already, I don't let that fully like be like, okay, now I just need.
It's more the early season production. I was thinking like we could really use it at running back.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've thought about James Cook a lot just because like, we've not really seen it. We're going to see it soon, but I think at worst case, you're getting Nyheim Hines, which is like a 12th round pick. So worst case, maybe you're giving up 2 rounds of value. At best case, you're getting a guy who's going to be, a 2nd through 4th round pick next year if he has like a huge season. There's also rumblings that that the Bills want to run the ball a little bit more, which if you're going to run it, don't be fully dumb. Like have the guy that can catch passes on the field. Like I just think the 2 tight end sets, him flexing in the slot makes all the sense in the world. So I have kind of split my exposure on them, but I'm warming up to more Cook over Singletary. And I think the websites that have like Singletary as like a 6th round pick, which there are some, and like Cook as like a 10th that's just wrong. But yeah, it's I mean, ultimately we're all guessing at what Cook will be.
Yeah, and he has this kind of prospect profile where you're like, I wouldn't be shocked if he was awesome. I wouldn't be shocked if he was like, the Zach Moss who catches passes.
So, do you want to grab Gallup? Do you want to grab Jarvis Landry? Gallup?
I think we can bring Gallup along, right? We got 4.
Let's do it. Yeah. We got a lot in week 9, guys. I'm not too stressed about that. I'm gonna get to this question in a second here, Terrence. You're right. The offense wasn't the problem in Buffalo. I mean, the defense breaking down is not really correct. Like Tre'Davious White was hurt, and when you play good offense usually just wins. But and also like judging that the Bills were a problem because they lost 1 playoff game on like a 12-second thing is like that's not the correct thinking. Like when NFL teams play, a lot of times it's a coin flip of who's going to win. But last year they put way too much on the plate of Josh Allen. Like he had to be perfect. I thought. And so adding players that take that load off of him is a good problem to have, in my opinion. When you're forcing Josh Allen to hit Cole Beasley 6 passes in a row for 5 yards at the time,
yeah,
you're not helping him with yard after catch. You want to hit another wideout here?
Yeah, I like Landry.
You want to grab Landry? I like
Landry. Boy.
Correlates with Kamara a little bit. Should be an early season guy too, kind of like the opposite of Gallup. Maybe Landry helps us get to the playoffs or helps us get to where we can start using Gallup.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex.
Landry in the 12th is pretty nice.
Agreed. Alex brings up the McKissick signing. I think McKissick is like, below the floor of what James Cook could be. Just because James Cook is a pass catcher, maybe he's just a better athlete. Maybe he's a better, maybe he can actually run between the tackles too. Singletary runs a 4.6. Yeah, there's a lot of like speed training he tried to do last year. You can't train your speed usually. But like, what's Kamara's weight? 215 pounds.
200. Yeah.
So can James Cook gain 10 pounds? / is he the same player if he does? Like, do we feel like his frame is maxed out?
He's 6 foot, so he probably could.
Did he go to FSU too?
No, he went to Georgia.
He went to Georgia. Okay, yeah, he went to Georgia. So yeah, I mean who was the starter there? It was
Zamir White.
And how did that actually like play down to like playing time between those two?
It was like a split backfield, and Cook was the receiving back.
What did you think about Zamir White's potential?
Zamir White's like probably the toughest eval for me because he was the #1 running back recruit in the nation. From that point until his first college snap, he tore the ACL in each of his knees. And then he did not have a good college career. But he was a starter and everything, but it was not a particularly impressive career. And then he ran like a 4.4 at the combine with a pretty big weight. Let me try and pull him up here. But I mean, his athleticism is definitely impressive, and you're like, and then he had decent draft capital. So like, okay, well maybe we should give this guy a mulligan. Like maybe he's finally becoming what we thought he was in the first place.
I was mainly asking, and this isn't a perfect science too, but like if the guy keeping you off the field is terrible, that's sometimes an indication like maybe you aren't that good. But that's not always true because we've seen that. Like, wasn't Nick Chubb kept off the field by like what's his face?
He was there with Gurley and
who's the Pat running back?
Michelle.
Yeah,
Sony Michelle. Yeah, but I mean that's an interesting one too because Chubb tore up his knee.
And college coaches are dumb all the time. Like they have to. They're trying to get recruits. So if they promise a player time, they might do that. Like you're splitting hairs a lot of times with running backs also, and. Like a running back, you don't want them to be running to the ground in college. Like, save their career a little bit for the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. It is tough, though, because White didn't, deliver any real – his breakaway percentage was terrible. He was terrible in yards per out run. He wasn't super elusive. Home guys didn't love him. But he ran a 4.4, 214. So maybe none of that matters.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think fantasy Twitter scared me off him a little bit. I usually just kind of go by draft capital, but they could have a committee with the Raiders, and he's a pick of the organization. And I don't know. Some people are hyped about Kenyon Drake, but
I'm taking a little bit of Drake.
Drake's been slowly fading. Drake's gonna be a trivia question in 5 years. He's going that way.
He is. That's true.
All right, we're on the clock here. We were at pick.
I mean, your boy Crowder's a value
158.
Here.
So I feel like we have to grab Crowder.
Yeah, let's do it.
Crowder and Singletary is also a better combo than Crowder and Cook because of the two tight end. If the two tight end thing is not as much, then Crowder should see the field more. Crowder's I don't want to take him when he goes at the 139. And it's annoying that he was going undrafted the first week of Best Ball Mania 3. But he's a player who's been so good in the past for such a bad team. And he's 5 years younger than Cole Beasley.
Yeah, I don't like him where he's going in the 12th round, but I am taking him at a discount. And I'm drafting a lot of McKenzie. So I think
got a lot of McKenzie too.
yeah, there's gonna be value out of the slot in Buffalo, and hopefully I will have that value.
Yeah, but if they do run more two tight end, that comes at the expense of. If OJ Howard's on the field more, that comes at the expense of the slot, and it bumps up Knox, Diggs, Davis. I think that's the type of analysis that I don't hear a ton of in the space. Real quick, let's make our pick here. Do you want to? Tight end might dry up if we don't grab one of these guys. I like kind of Noah Fant to go with.
I'm good with that. Yeah, that's fine.
Funny, and we're gonna take Noah Fant here because one day I was like doing my YouTube and then it auto played a next video and it auto played like a ship chasing stream from last year from like early like June or something, and it was you and Pete and Ben, and you and Ben I think were like saying, and I think Davis was there. Like I think like you and Davis were like, Noah Fant is a top 5 tight end or something, and Pete's like, I don't think Noah Fant's even that, and you're like, he's an athletic freak. So you were stamping the table for him. The reason I drafted Noah Fant last year, who won me the $1 million with his garbage time touchdown, is because I remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Noah Fant got like a screen pass and housed like an 80-yard touchdown. And when you're a tight end and you have the athleticism to do that, that is very good for fantasy football. Also, looking at his box scores, he gave us, I think, 3 weeks over 15 points. So 3 spike weeks, I would say, which is like more than some of the backup running backs we're targeting. So that's really huge to throw. Like, if Kelsey's your every week guy, plus you get 4 spike weeks with Fant, like that's pretty huge. That's a third of the fantasy season nearly. There's also been great reports about him in camp. Not that Pete Carroll's, not that Pete Carroll trying to save face with the Russell Wilson trade means anything to me.
Although, to be honest, the one thing I do like about Seattle is that they do seem to have like somewhat of a meritocracy. They also do weird stuff, like they clearly were overly committed to Chris Carson and stuff like that. But they, like, I know they love Disley as a blocker, but I think like if Fant really impresses them in camp, they might have him out there running a ton of routes. Like I think they're one of those teams where that stuff means like a tiny bit more to me.
Yeah, Crowder's a guy that just because I saw a comment that he's 2 days younger than Cooper Kupp, he's a guy I'm afraid that could bury me, and especially being a Bill by fading him too much. Also, if you're gonna blindly draft a position off of their RAS score, raw athletic score, shout out Kentley Platt, tight end is the position to do it. There has been approximately 0 tight ends that are not athletic in today's NFL that are good. And Noah Fant is like, I think his RAS score is above Kyle Pitts, which is like,
I kind of view that as like your ticket to get into the party, and then like once you're there, I would still prefer you be good at receiving. Like that's actually very important to me.
It's a minimal though. Like if you have a RAS profile of 5 though, like you're just not not going to be good. Like Dalton Schultz, I think, has the lowest one of the good tight ends. I looked at it the other day. I looked at like TJ Hawkinson, Goddard, everyone. Dalton Schultz sitting in like the 7s or something. Like he's like the lowest one of the group, but I don't know. I like taking these spike week tight ends with Kelsey, like Njoku, Fant, etc.
I like that, yeah.
Feels like we need to get some more running backs on the squad. And I would say we're done at tight end and quarterback, unless we feel like throwing in Taysom Hill for that Taysom Hill to Kamara, Taysom Hill to Jarvis Landry.
I know what's going to happen at it, that he's going to come in and steal a touchdown from Kamara, and I can't root for that. So
he's gone. We don't have to worry about it.
All right, nice. All right. Wow, Taysom in the 15th. You and Davis have really done some work.
Well, I heard Silva shout it out the other day.
Oh God.
You know, so like it's now gone big fantasy as I will refer to ETR.
Yeah.
You know, like and Silva's not as much in these best ball streets. So like when he's shouting them out, you know, he's just like looking at the list and being like, I like this value. You know, like Pete, I think suppressed the Taysom Hill ADP by shutting down the by shutting down the Taysom Hill take. But we'll see. I mean, like we know he should be out of the league soon. He's like 32 or something.
And he's bad.
Truly egregious at for his contract.
Old and bad is generally not the combo.
Are you cool with Jamal Williams?
I'm good with it. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever asked that comment earlier, you made this happen. Correlates with Amon-Ra a little bit on the season. We don't have a ton of week 17 correlation going on. The week 17 correlation we do have is that the Cowboys beat the shit out of the Titans. The Lions beat the shit out of Chicago. The Saints beat up on the Eagles. Like that, you know, like that's the type of correlation we're going for, which I think is fine too.
Bills beat up on the Bengals.
Yeah, you don't always need bringbacks. You know,
it would be nice to have like a bringback.
Yeah, we'll try to get one here. I think we need one more running back and then one more wide receiver. Is that how you're playing this?
Yeah, though, don't we have 3 picks?
3 picks. Hey, okay. So we'll do 1 and 1, and then we probably chuck in. We'll just see who's there. What do you think about Pickens?
I like Pickens.
You like him more than KJ?
Well, KJ gives us a little mini with Kelsey, so I'd be open to that.
His 80, I feel like Pickens has gotten a little too cheap, though, hasn't he?
I agree. I would be fine. Pickens is going too cheap for where he was drafted, and he was a good prospect.
All right, let's take Pickens. We hate the offense, but he could be the 2. Like, we do have Claypool as well, so that's.
Oh yeah. Well,
you know, whatever. I mean, like, he's big. He should catch touchdowns. Maybe the Steelers aren't as bad as the market thinks.
I also think that one of the ways that Claypool gets there is that Pickens is good, and then Claypool plays out of the slot a lot. And Claypool playing big slot, and I was looking at the yards per out run from the slot last year. Claypool was far and away the most efficient receiver in the slot, including Juju, who's playing most of his time in the slot, and was actually really inefficient from there. So big slot Claypool might be his best case outcome, and the only way that happens is if Pickens is forcing his way on the field as the third wide receiver, and they don't have some little gadget guy.
He has to. Like, they got rid of James Washington. They don't have Ray McLeod even. Who would it be?
They drafted this guy, Calvin Austin.
Ray. Yeah, the really fast dude.
He's a really fast guy. So
he'll be a gadget.
I think like he would be right. So you could have Claypool on the outside and Austin as a gadget dude in the slot, which I think is probably worse for Claypool. Maybe
at worst,
at least
in the
it takes the best case off.
In the red zone, I think Claypool would be the slot because they also have done like the Claypool end around handoffs before. We've seen those.
Those are fun.
And so, like, you can get some rushing production up close with him. And with them having a bad O-line, maybe they want to do that more. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, Pickens has really fallen in his ADP. He's just too good of a prospect to not be taking him. And, like, maybe Pickett to these bigger wideouts is, like, do you think Deontay plays the slot at all, or is he strictly outside?
He's mostly outside. He's kind of this interesting profile where he gets open really quick, but he can do it on the outside. And I think it's more valuable to the offense to have him play on the outside because he can do it there.
What potential do you think that the Pitt offense is just way different than anything we've ever seen because Big Ben's not there anymore? And it's like,
I mean, I think there's a good chance. Like, but I also think that maybe Deontay was being held back by Big Ben to an extent. You know, like you see like some of his routes are just like literally just him turning to the right. It's like that's not even a route. But Ben just like didn't want to get hit. He had to get the ball immediately. He has super, super quick time to throw last year. And Johnson was not that kind of guy in college. He was used a bit more downfield. He was kind of like a kind of could do everything type of wide receiver. And he's a really good NFL receiver. So if he gets a bit more downfield work, like I don't think Pickens, Claypool, and Johnson are getting there together. I don't think it's that kind of offense, but
no,
individually, and maybe even Pickens and Claypool together, hopefully, since we just did that. But I think they can.
Or either, like honestly, like if one busts and one's a hit, like we'll take that on this team. And
agreed.
I'll tell you one thing: Trubisky and Pickett, if they want to stay on the field, they're going to be taking some fucking hits. They seem like the guys who are going to try to gut it out if they're the starter because they don't want the other dude to take their job.
Yep.
It's not like Big Ben where they're winding down.
Hoagie pointing out Matt Harmon's been hammering the idea that Deontay was held back by Big Ben. So you love to hear that.
FF Doom saying
he's good. So
yeah, I mean he's like DJ Moore. He's like Waddle. He's like these guys who are good, but we have questions about the offense. Like an older Keenan Allen is just like I don't know. Deontay's not a sexy pick. I try to get him more on PPR sites, but I do have some on Underdog. What are you feeling? You want to get Chris Evans? Mini correlation?
I'd do Julio, David Bell if you want. We could also get if you want to get another running back, we could get him here. We probably
do you like Julio better? Do you like Julio better than David Bell?
I have 33% Julio, so I do.
All right, that's all I needed to hear. You should have led with that. I don't have a ton of Julio, mainly because I go Fuller over Julio.
Yeah, I've got 24% Fuller, so yeah.
There you go.
I'm drafting these guys, man.
I might be something egregious like 40% Fuller. I don't even know. Just so ready for him to retire and rug my squads. Where gun to head right now, Julio signs with the
Packers.
Oh, I didn't get that in time. Say it again.
Julio Jones will sign. I actually think he'll sign with the Ravens.
Oh, whoa. On the big screen, he wasn't as confident.
Well, I said the Packers before. It sets my heart. My head says the Ravens.
Your head says, yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you're the Ravens, like, why would you not sign Will Fuller? Like, what are you doing? It's literally Marquise Brown, but maybe even better. Like,
oh, yeah. If Fuller is what he was, he's better.
Okay.
Let's get that mini.
You want Chris Evans for the mini?
Yeah. Anything else you see?
That. No. We talked about Zamir White, so we could always grab him. Deontay Foreman just like is forever going to be a free 18th to 20th round pick.
Yeah.
Who is a very good back to take, but like everyone has bunches of him if you're sharp, I feel. So I like Chris Evans, high upside swing, can get there with Singletary in the same game. Like it's not this case where it's like because Chris Evans is such a pass catcher guy, if Singletary scores 2 on the ground, Chris Evans might actually be leaned on more. Chris Evans is also interesting where it's like I feel like he has more upside. Like if Joe Mixon's backups go down, Joe Mixon is still probably not seeing pass game work. But if Joe Mixon goes down, Chris Evans still gets the pass game work and now gets some first and second down work. So like he has like more ceiling than Mixon in that sense. Like counterintuitively.
I think he's like enough of a receiving type of back that I think he would split with Perine, but he would like maybe have as much upside.
Yeah, it seems like worst case, Evans or Perine is starting as a third down back, which is like really valuable to just like lock in a pass catching back. And then they have upside for spelling Mixon. Mixon gets hurt. I hate Mixon's ADP. Like I am not taking Mixon on the 1-2 turn.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm like basically full fading Mixon right now.
Yeah, I just see no difference between him and Barkley, Swift, Jones, Leonard Fournette, like Javonte. Like I just view all those running backs so similar. And yes, when that's the case, generally you want to have a little bit of exposure anyways, because it's like maybe it's the Mixon show, but I don't think the Bills are a team you're going to want to try to run on too much this year. Just high-powered offense. It's hard to run the ball. And it's just, I just don't see. I mean, the O-line is better, so that's a little good, but he's also just had so many seasons with like a fuckload of carries that he's going to hit a wall eventually. And it should be like kind of a flashing sign a little bit that they refuse to play him on third downs. Like he's been a good pass catching back in the past. Like when he had that 45-point game last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was, he did it in the air too.
It's pass protection. They don't trust him in pass protection.
That's even worse. And he's on the bad human list, domestic abuser. Yep. So we have no problem fading the bad humans as well on this channel. Does not correlate with our Jamal Williams good guy team. I don't know if Jamal Williams has done anything that I don't know of.
And I'm not taking a ton of Fournette. I've got 27% Rachaad White, so you can see kind of where my head's at on that. But I mean, Fournette's got a much higher ceiling than Mixon. Like Fournette actually plays all three downs. Like,
yes,
I would be. Fournette is someone that could hurt me again, but I'm more afraid of him than Mixon.
100%. And like the Bucks maybe should run a little bit more with, aging Brady plus injuries, and the Bengals are probably going to pass more now with Burrow a year removed from injury, better O-line. Like it's how they should win.
One thing that's interesting about the O-line stuff is their O-line last year in terms of run blocking was fine. Their pass blocking was really, really bad. So I think like the upgraded O-line you could see as like, good for everybody. And it will be good for everybody, but I think it'll be a lot better for the passing game than for Mixon. I'm pulling up the PFF grades. They were 29th in pass block grade last year. The Bengals were, where did they go? They were 20th in run blocking grade. So they weren't like great, but they were significantly worse.
Their best O-lineman was a Bills cast-off, Spain, who they had to the Bills cut, and then Bengals starter. Real quick, let's run through the squad before we say goodbye. We went with a 2-5-9-2. I build a lot of teams 2-5-9-2 or 2-5-8-3 if I don't get an elite tight end. Just like I think it's structurally good. We got 2 elite quarterbacks. We have an elite running back, a high upside shot. Singletary could smash. Like it's Singletary or Cook. I think one will be good. Some fun late round guys. Good wideout core. Gallup, late season hammer. Maybe like Jarvis and Jameson are more early season guys. Pickens should be good. I have no idea what Julio will bring, but he's a fun click. It's Julio Jones. Really fun tight end group. If you guys were in this draft, let us know. Did Pat send us 1250? No, I'm free rolling him. I'm very kind like that. No. Corbin said, enjoyed it from the 5 spot. Let's see. Pretty good team. A lot of wideouts.
Yeah.
Some running backs. Someone asked about the Benny Snell. Haven't seen that name in a while. I like it.
Lost weight.
Yeah, these are the type of players that should be drafted, like these Keyshawn Vaughns, Benny Snells, like these running backs that are drawing live to be starters if the starter goes down, but are just not. The 12 hole did redeem his draft. Like he did get Sammy Watkins, so maybe he's just a Aaron Rodgers fan, but like he drafted everything else pretty much around ADP. Nothing too weird there. All right, Pat, anything to tell the people? You got a ship chasing draft tonight?
Ship chasing draft tomorrow night. We're going to have Dalton Cates on talking some prop bets, and then we're going to do a draft. And yeah, NBC Sports Edge, we're doing a series of team division previews with the beat writers on. Those have been really fun. Our team previews coming out every day. And our draft guide is in store, so you can check that out.
Real quick. Are you getting a sense when you talk to these beat writers that, I don't want any names here, that some are people to trust regarding fantasy football and some are not? Or is it hard to tell or what?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to to keep an eye out for is like some guys will throw out numbers, like this many targets, should see at least this many targets. I would be like super skeptical of those. But like the sentiment,
guessing, right?
They're guessing, and their guesses might not be like grounded as thoroughly like in the numbers as we are
in fantasy football. They're like, he's going to have 4,000 yards.
Yeah, exactly. So we're like, oh my God, really? It's like, well, maybe not, but like he also might be onto something that like, this, like, for example, we had a Lions beat writer on, and he was suggesting that Amon-Ra should see a bunch of targets. Hawkinson should see a bunch of targets. But he had Hawkinson. He thinks Hawkinson's the 1A still there. So, like, to me, that was the takeaway. Rather than, like, however many targets he thinks each guy will get. Like, that's, I think, more like directional is how I can interpret this stuff.
Yeah, and just like what it looks like in camp is a valuable thing. Like, just tell me what you're seeing, not what you think is more.
Yeah.
What I want to know. Real quick from me, we're gonna have 2 streams tomorrow. I'll tweet these out, but we're gonna have one with Davis at around 1 p.m. Eastern, and then we're gonna have Matt Berkey, the poker professional, on at 5 p.m. Eastern. Everyone have a great day. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Helps me do free content. Thank you. Peace.